I'd like to open the meeting of the Board of Public Works, scheduled for Thursday, December 20th, 2018, at 5:30 p.m. in the auditorium here at the City Hall of Nashua. May we please have a roll call?
Commissioner Ackerman.
I am here.
Commissioner Pappas.
Here.
Commissioner Moriarty.
Here.
Commissioner Tease.
Present.
Okay.
Sorry,
I'd like to have a motion to approve the agenda as amended. Just a note that the only thing that was added since we received it the other day was in section under personnel, and that was motion B, A rather, excuse me.
Okay, I'll move to approve the amended agenda.
Very good. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Let's have a motion to approve the minutes from last meeting, please.
I'll move to approve the minutes of the Board of Public Works meeting of November 19th, 2018.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, let us open this up to public comment. I don't see anybody from the public here today, so we'll move right into Parks and Recreation.
Commissioner Ackerman,
Yes, sir.
I'd like to recognize the presence of Alderman Jetty.
Poor Alderman.
Thank you, Commissioner Moriarty. I appreciate that.
I do apologize, Mr. Jenny. Thank you.
Don't take it personally.
All right.
You're over here on the other side of me, so you couldn't see him.
Thank you for joining us tonight, Mr. Jenny.
You're
Parks and
welcome.
Recreation. Entertain a motion?
I'll move to approve the purchase of pool resurfacing and upgrades from Granite Finish Supply of Hudson, New Hampshire, in the amount not to exceed $125,000. Funding for the purchase will be through Department 184 Urban Programs FY17 CDBG and Department 177 Parks and Recreation Funds Grant General Account, Category 54 Property Services.
Do we have a second?
No second.
No seconds required. Any discussion? Commissioner Moriarty.
Just a clarification point. On the motion, it says Gunite Finish Supply, and then on the chart we were given, it said Granite Finish Supply, so I just want to get the correct name of the company.
That probably auto-corrected. It is Gunite.
Oh.
Thank you.
Very good. Any other questions or discussion? Commissioner Pappas?
Just, certainly money well spent. There are a lot of kids that spend their summers at the pools, and I think it's a good investment, and I think we should keep up with keeping our pools up.
Very good. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you. Solid waste.
I'll move to approve the rate increase for commercial and residential construction and demolition waste received at the landfill from $90 per ton to $200 per ton.
Okay. Any discussion relative to our recent committee meeting? Yes, Commissioner Pappas.
I just wasn't sure if it might be worth, just for the public and for members who weren't able to make the last meeting, just to explain our reasoning behind.
Sure. So in recent years, we've been receiving a lot of commercial C&D, and it's not particularly helpful to the landfill for a couple of reasons. It doesn't compact well, first of all, so it takes up a lot of space. And also, there is a lot of gypsum board that creates odors. And what we found was that our rates were much lower than other communities, other surrounding communities. So we thought it prudent to make sure that we were just receiving C&D from Nashua to raise the rates to be in line with our neighboring communities. So that's what we're doing. One of the things, though, that I think is important is there is an ordinance that we'll need changed in order to do this. So we'll have to work, I'll work with legal to try to clean up the language, and Alderman Jetty was kind enough to say that he would be willing to sponsor the legislation to get this changed so we could make this adjustment.
Yes,
Yes, go ahead.
So what, just remember the public, we don't, for the commercial stuff, it's different than people who come, who purchase landfill stickers, correct? So commercial people, like, we might be taking Hudson's C&D waste.
We could,
We're able to do that, and we want to tighten that up.
correct.
Yeah, no, I just wanted to, I think
Yeah,
it's a great idea.
The breakdown is about, and I don't have the number in front of me, but it's roughly 1,500 tons a year of residential, and it's close to 5,000 tons of commercial that we receive, so. And it's hard to ensure that that's actually coming from Nashua if, our rates are so much lower.
Thank you.
Commissioner Tease.
Yeah, I was unable to make that meeting, and I was going to ask that question, how many tons we receive, and that'd be a nice source of income for sure. And do we anticipate that the volume will remain the same, or do you think this will be a deterrent and people will find another place to dispose of it?
That's a good question. We had a discussion about that. I think the volumes may go down a little bit, but I think that they'll remain relatively the same.
Right.
And certainly if we found that they went down significantly and we wanted to increase them, decrease them again, we certainly could. There are other pretty good options, though, for people. There is a facility right in Salem that contractors could go to if they wanted to. So I don't anticipate that this will create a hardship for anybody.
Good. It's a good source of income for sure.
Absolutely.
It is.
Very good. Any other discussion?
Commissioner Ackerman?
Alderman Jettie.
So if in fact this requires a change to the ordinances, is it in order for you to do this yet?
I think we can, yes. I think that it would be helpful for you to be able to say the Board of Public Works supports this and has voted on this, and when you're bringing this to the Board of Aldermen. So,
But it won't take effect until
no, that's correct.
the ordinance is changed.
That's correct. Yeah.
Director, one other question. At our committee meeting, we talked about how we continue to want to work well with the commercial industry, that type of thing. But was there any dialogue, and I'm just now reading the ordinance for the first time, but was there any dialogue?
You
or
all have the
thought-
ordinance, by the way.
Or
I put it in
thought
your-
process about, after the ordinance gets approved, that we give the commercial businesses and residences a certain period of time to be aware of this before it goes into effect? Or would it be in effect as immediately when the ordinance was passed?
We could do it, we could do it either way. Usually, it's effective as soon as the ordinance is passed.
Okay,
So,
all right. Any other discussion? Seeing none? Oh, Commissioner
Just
Pappas.
a quick comment and question.
Yeah.
If between the director and Alderman Jettie, if the rest of us can be informed when this bill is taken up in committee, and also when it's taken up at the full board, I certainly would appreciate someone giving me a heads up. Thank you.
sure, absolutely.
Very good. Seeing no...
I'm sorry, Commissioner Ackerman, one other thing, I think it might make sense to Commissioner Pappas to maybe try to get some language for our next recycling committee meeting and maybe look at it then.
Yes.
One of the things that I was talking about earlier that I would like to see is there are a lot of different charges in this ordinance that might make sense to, instead of having all of these individual prices that we have to go back and change the ordinance every time, that it might make sense to, as it says, let the Board of Public Works determine the charges. So that's one of the things that I can work with Dory to write up some language, and the next recycling, we can all look at it and make any changes that we see fit, if that makes sense.
That makes a lot of sense to me.
Okay.
7:30, but what do you think?
Okay, seeing no further discussion, all those in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. I'd like to invite our superintendent up to the podium for wastewater.
I'll move to approve the user warrants as presented.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye.
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 Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it.
Move to approve the purchase of one new raw sewage pump suction cover in the amount of $20,890 from Xylem of Woburn, Massachusetts. Funding will be through Department 169 wastewater fund, wastewater account category 54 property services.
Any discussion on this? Alderman Jettie.
Not so much about this particular item, but there are several items that you're going to be taking up shortly, which regarding the wastewater department, and it all adds up to a lot of money. Can you give us an overview as to what's going on, why these expenses are all being incurred or required?
Right, the majority of these are upgrades to the facility. Some is to replace broken equipment. Some were projects that were part of a multi-year plan, such as the primary clarifier upgrades. So these are part of the process. Some is part of the heating system that still needs to be upgraded. This particular one was a maintenance issue, which now that we have new program to enter in equipment into the system, we'll have work orders generated, hoping to avoid purchases like this. But it's just a equipment failure over the years. Unfortunately, some of the systems don't last forever, like the primary clarifier equipment. It's
A very, very expensive facility to run.
yeah.
May I?
Yes, sir.
So the primary clarifier, is that the primary tank, is that the $3 million item?
Yes, correct.
Commissioner Tease.
Mr. Chair, for clarification, these items that are presented for approval tonight have been previously vetted via budget, and they were planned improvements, correct?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Including the muffin monster?
Including the muffin
Yes.
monster, yes.
Yes, Commissioner Pappas?
I don't know if we're going to wait till the specific ones, but it does have to do with maintenance, and I will tell you, as far as the heating system goes, I know, Commissioner Tease, you haven't been, weren't around when we first started, I just feel like that upgrade has been a total and utter debacle, and if this were my own private heating system that I purchased, I think that I would have gone after some of the people that did the work and some of the assessments, and I don't know that I have it in me to approve any more heat. You know, I know that it doesn't look like a lot of money in comparison to things within wastewater, and I don't want people to freeze, but the amount of money that we've spent and the job just not getting done right in the heating system has just really stuck into my craw. I know it's certainly not your fault, but it's been very annoying, and I really don't understand why the city doesn't hold some people accountable. And as I said, I recognize that it doesn't look like a whole lot of money when you're talking wastewater in the scheme of things, and I recognize this is a user fee fund, but at a certain point, it's ridiculous as far as I'm concerned about how many times we've had to just keep putting money into that heating system that's supposedly brand new. But that's my editorial comments on that, so.
Very good. I'd like to move the motion. All those in favor of approving the purchase of a new raw sewage pump, say aye.
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 Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. Item C.
Move to approve the purchase and installation of 2 new heating units in the wastewater facility control room and cafeteria for the amount of $15,574 from Armin E. Lemire Company, Inc. of Hooksett, New Hampshire. Funding will be through Department 169 wastewater fund, wastewater account category, 81 major capital.
Very good. Any discussion? Commissioner Tease.
Just ask the director, she's she's been on top of the project and has no other concerns. I believe that you've been managing it appropriately.
There was a time when things were in pretty rough shape, and a number of us spent a lot of time there trying to sort through all of this, and we've come a long ways, and very proud of what we've accomplished, and couldn't have done it without just phenomenal staff. There's a lot of reasons, and I won't rehash the heating system, but there were a lot of reasons why that was a very difficult project. It's a very large building. There's just a lot to it. There's some things that needed to be changed, and, at the time then, Alderman Dean, who's an expert in HVAC, really helped walk us through this, but it was difficult. It was a difficult process. So, but I think everything's pretty well completed now, and I don't know if you want to speak to this.
Yeah, if I
Dave,
could just
but-
add to that, it's,
Yeah.
the systems that are installed were installed properly, they are working properly. It's from, when I came into this, we were working on one HVAC system, which just controlled the heat and cooling in the administration area. There's boilers that were installed in 2015 that are working properly, that supply heat to another process building. And then there's other outbuildings that we have steam supplied to. A lot of the traps were broken, some of the heaters needed to be replaced. And so it's not all the same project. These are all individual sections of the facility. So, and these are two other areas in the facility that somewhat tie into the new boiler system. It's just at the age of these units, they're pretty old. We have two others also that we're looking at that are in separate parts of the facility, so it's tough to have one project in one area. It's all individual. Like the director said, it's a large facility. It's multiple areas, but everything we've installed to date is working properly, so it's not a fault of anybody that installed it. There are these little glitches that you don't know. You install a boiler and then find out that some steam traps along the way and different parts of the building need to be replaced. You don't know until you install the new thing what's wrong. So I have to say that this is independent of all the other things that were in there. So it's,
Okay. Any other?
but it is a lot warmer, sorry.
Thank you. Thank you for that. So the equipment is old that's being replaced?
Yes, it was installed in '88. You can't get
Yep.
parts or an exact replacement, but it's oversized, and what we're looking at is to reduce it to cab heaters. They are relatively small rooms. When these were installed, the rooms were utilized as something totally different than what they are now, so it's not needed. The amount of equipment that's in there is not needed, so we're keeping the cost down. I know it's a lot of money, but the cost is a lot less going this route than to have a exact replacement of the equipment that's there.
Very good. All those in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. Motion D.
I'll move to approve the purchase of one Muffin Monster brand grinder in the amount of $13,281.91 from JWC Environmental of Santa Ana, California. Funding is through Department 169 Wastewater Fund for account category 1 major capital.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion E.
Move to approve the contract with Wright Pierce of Topsom, Maine, in an amount not to exceed $375,300 for construction administration services for the primary tank upgrade project. Funding will be through Department 169 Wastewater Fund, SRF loan, activity, primary tank upgrade.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Motion F.
I'll move to approve the contract with Methuen Construction of Plastown, New Hampshire, in an amount not to exceed $3,629,340 for the construction upgrades to the primary tanks of the wastewater treatment facility. Funding is through Department 169 Wastewater Fund, WRF, and SRF loan, activity primary upgrade project.
Okay. Any discussion?
Yeah, Commissioner,
Alderman Jettie?
I don't want to beat a dead horse here, but But what's wrong with the primary tank, and why does it need to be upgraded?
There's 5 tanks, and they have the infrastructure is a set of chains and sprockets that are constantly submerged in raw sewage. Also, the design of the tanks, there needs to be some construction of design because sludge is settling poorly in the tanks. There's another set of chains with rakes that carry sludge from one end of the tank to the other. They have to be redesigned because they're not carrying it to the proper location. Also, the control mechanism, the SCADA computer portion, it's the part of the computer system that runs those chains of primary tanks that are being upgraded. And there's an independent building that'll be in place for it, because currently we don't have proper SCADA system communications back to our main building. And also some plumbing is going to be upgraded, and the plumbing all sits underground. So it's minimal plumbing, some gate work that needs to be done in order for the flow of sewage to go through the tanks evenly, because right now, the way they were designed, it's not working properly, so sludge isn't settling correctly. And the sludge can't settle in areas, get old, because the bacteria changes the longer it sits, and it becomes bacteria we don't like. It's all about keeping the right bacteria in your system and not letting it get septic.
Very good.
This is existing equipment, but the interior structure, it corrodes over time.
When was the last time the primary tanks were upgraded?
Well before me.
Yeah. So it's time.
It's, yeah,
It's time for an upgrade.
it's probably the original
Yeah.
equipment.
If I heard correctly, there's 5 tanks.
Correct.
This is a reference to one tank? one-
Nope, this is all 3, all
This is-
5.
this is
Yeah,
all
there's
5.
2 small tanks and then
Okay.
3 larger tanks. They're rectangular, long tanks.
Certainly. I didn't see much detail. What's the length of time that it takes from start to finish on this type of project?
This one, I don't have it here,
Okay.
but this one should be less than a year. Because you're just changing the infrastructure that's there. It's not a lot of work with the infrastructure. There is a small building that's going on site and minor work inside our underground gallery. It's a underground tunnel.
And one just quick follow-up question in line with these others. Is this the largest project that's currently foreseen to occur at the wastewater facility?
No.
No, no,
Okay.
there is, we're looking at a larger one, upgrades to our pump stations throughout the town, city, sorry.
More to follow on that, correct?
Correct.
Any other discussion? Commissioner Moriarty?
Yes, Director Fotto, if you could refresh my memory, when we had the CSO tanks built off Bridge Street, the big tanks, wasn't that Methuen Construction or no?
I believe it was.
Because we've had some issues with that.
I'm not sure what you're referring to for
Yeah, I thought there was some.
screening and disinfection facility. That works pretty well.
It does?
Yeah.
The newest one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we
That does
haven't.
work well.
Are you aware of any issues we've had with it?
No, that was 2014, 15, somewhere in there. when it was
Yeah.
built.
Yeah.
There was an issue one time, I think, with the meter that was controlling the chemicals. That might be what you're thinking of, but that wasn't related to Methuen, and that got fixed. Because we treat everything that goes out of that facility. Trying to think that's the facility we went down in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right, they did that. I thought there was a potential lawsuit in the works for something that occurred over there, so I must be mistaken.
Yeah, I'm not aware of that.
No, I don't remember a lawsuit, but there was something there was an issue, I don't recall, it's been a bit,
Okay.
but I think you're right,
Not- I don't
I don't
recall
recall
any-
what the specific issue was.
yeah.
Because it was pretty, as I remember, it was pretty technical.
Yeah, Methuen's done a fair amount of work for us, and they've done a good job. I mean,
Okay.
I'm not aware of any problems we've had with Methuen. Have you?
No.
Are you?
The wet weather facility they did, and some other groundwork at the wastewater plant.
Commissioner Tease.
In just in the normal course of business, we get, obviously, references if they've done work, but we have evidence of insurance and so forth.
Absolutely,
Yeah, right.
yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
Very good.
You may be thinking of the wet weather facility, because we did have issues with the wet weather facility.
The overflow.
Do you think, could that be?
That may
what
be-
You might be
Right,
thinking,
maybe
but
that's
that
what-
wasn't related necessarily to Methuen, that was related to the consultant that designed the facility. They built it to the spec they were given. That might be that could be what you were thinking of.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
And one last question for the superintendent. Assuming we pull the trigger on this, when will they start? When do you anticipate them starting this particular project?
We don't have a start date. We don't have a date for a pre-construction meeting
I
yet.
see. Okay, very good. Thank you. Commissioner Pappas?
And just one more comment, just for folks watching. This is a very expensive facility, but it's also, there's a really corrosive environment over wastewater. It's just, the whole process is just extremely corrosive, so it's expensive to replace, and a lot of times we don't have many choices of who we choose for a project also, because it's so specialized.
Very good.
Could
Alderman
I-
Jettie?
Once we do this, what's the expected life? I mean, how long will it be before we have to do it again?
It depends. Every facet of it is a different length of time. Chain sprockets, 10 years. But it's not a complete rebuild. You can replace parts. The actual reconfiguring of the tank should be a lot longer than that. I'd say at least 30, possibly 50. It's concrete work on the tank, and it's going to be coated. But the smaller stuff, chains, sprockets, I give it 10 years. But that's the least amount of cost. The computer stuff will be continually maintained, so there won't be lump sum big cost on that. It'll be small upgrades.
Thank you.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Motion G.
Move to approve the purchase of a new hydraulic cylinder and maintenance on the hydraulic power units for the influent gate in the wet weather facility from New Hampshire Hydraulics of Merrimack, New Hampshire, in an amount of $19,956. Funding will be through Department 169 Wastewater Fund, Department Collection, Wastewater Collection, Activity 54 Property Services.
Any discussions? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Motion H.
Earn your paycheck.
I'll move to approve the inspection and evaluation of the gas holding tank for anaerobic digester with McDermott CBI Services of Plainfield, Illinois, an amount of $18,280. Funding will be through Department 169 Wastewater Fund, Wastewater Account Category 54, Property Services.
Any discussion?
Superintendent, so you mentioned in the motion, in the description that this is for the inspection and evaluation of the tank, and we'll have another company purge the methane gas?
Correct.
So why do we not have that in front of us tonight?
The other one should be under 10,000.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, 9,600 is what we're looking at for the cost of that one.
That explains it.
But
Thank you.
the total cost is certainly less than 140,000.
Right.
So,
So anything less than 10,000 does not come before us.
correct.
Okay. I just had a question. There's nobody closer to New Hampshire that could do this inspection and evaluation?
Fortunately not. It was difficult enough to find these people.
Okay, I was
It's,
just asking.
There's not a lot of equipment like this around,
Okay,
and it's kind of a specialty thing. We wish we could have one company that would do all the service for it, but unfortunately not.
okay, very good. Any other questions? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion I.
I'll move to abolish the industrial pretreatment coordinator position and create the position of environmental permits and program coordinator.
Any discussion? Commissioner Pappas?
A couple of different questions. Is this a union position? I looked through, I didn't see it.
Yes,
Which one?
UAW.
Okay.
And it was, when it was the industrial pretreatment coordinator, it was a UAW position as well.
Okay. Have we written enough, I assume we still have to do some pretreatment.
Yes.
Have we written enough flexibility into the new position so that we can still get that job done too?
Absolutely,
Certain.
yes. Yeah, so when we, and I'll let Dave speak to it, but I've been as much involved, I think, as he has in this. When we looked at the, whenever, of course, somebody retires or leaves a position, it's a great opportunity to really look at it, and is this really what we need, or should we, is there something that would better meet the needs of the department? And we have a lot of work coming up with all of the permitting, with our CMOM program, even with the city's MS4 program, which actually touches all departments in the city. And so we all discussed this and decided that it would be better to have an environmental permit coordinator position who could sort of help to oversee all of this instead of just the industrial pretreatment, which there's really not enough work for. And Dave also we're working with a lab to do a lot of the sampling.
Correct.
Instead of doing the sampling ourselves. And so I think this is going to be a great position for not only wastewater, but for Public Works and the city.
Follow-up?
Yes,
go right ahead.
if I may follow up.
Yep.
So this person is going to be doing permits, environmental permits and programs. So if they needed an extra hand over at the landfill, do we have enough flexibility if we have permits over there? What I'm saying is permits throughout the division, are those permits so different that we wouldn't do that?
We probably wouldn't, Carrie Converse does a phenomenal job over it, It's Solid
Okay.
Waste. So we probably wouldn't, there probably wouldn't be overlap, although the MS4 permit does cover all departments and the city, so there could be some overlap there. But I think the thing that I'm most excited about is we have all of these new permits coming from EPA, which are going to tremendous amount of reporting and oversight, but also the CMOM program that we're really working on now, which will really put in place a plan to a plan for all of wastewater's assets, in terms of we're going to have a plan for cleaning catch basins, for instance, cameraing all of our lines, doing things like that. So this person will be able to oversee, once we get that program in place, which we're kind of in the early stages of, that person can oversee all of that and make sure that all that maintenance is taking place and track it and all of that, and then do all the reporting to both DES and EPA. So it's going to be particularly helpful because that's really ramping up now.
Very good. Yes, Commissioner Moriarty?
Director and Superintendent, when I was reading the essential job function, I did not see anything about grant writing. Is that something that this person potentially could do for us?
I don't think so. I don't think that this person will have that skill set, although, and I think they'll be pretty busy doing all this other stuff, so I don't think, something I would love to have, though.
Yes.
Love to have a grant writer, but right now, Public Works, we really don't have anybody that can do that. Lauren Byers probably would be the one that would be closest to being able to do something like that, but,
Okay.
yeah. A lot of the grants that we're finding are, we're working with community development, and they're doing some of the grant writing. Justin Cates is doing a little bit, so we do have other resources we can tap if we need to. Yeah.
Any other discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Thank you, Superintendent.
Okay, thank you.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Thank you, Dave.
Let's move over to engineering.
Move to approve the residential and commercial wastewater service permits and fees as submitted.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Informational on the paving program? Is that yourself?
That's, I think it's pretty self-explanatory unless you have any questions. It's just really an update of where we are, and we accomplished a lot, about 25 miles this year.
Yeah, I did have one question.
Sure.
I think given the weather and all the other infrastructure work that went into it, I'm very impressed that they got to where they were, candidly. But I did note, my office is out on Amherst Street by the Somerset Parkway, and I'm curious to know the contracts, do they require police presence? Because there were many times during the construction, and there was mass confusion, and it was construction folks, not saying that they weren't doing a good job, but I think the presence of police would have been better, and I'm just want to understand how the contracts
I
are paid.
completely agree with you.
Yeah.
And we, certainly on Amherst Street, we would definitely request police detail. We're having a really tough time. That's voluntary work, and we're really.
Got it.
And they do put it out. There's a whole consortium of towns and cities that they put it out to, and we just.
No one picked it up.
No. We are having a really tough time getting officers. I agree with you, and whenever we're on, Broad Street, Amherst Street, Main Street, any of this, our major thoroughfares, we definitely want, major arterials, we definitely want police presence, but we just haven't been able to.
So if I may, the contract that was bid upon required police presence, and they went out, tried to get it, and it wasn't there.
Correct.
So that's a cost savings to them. Do we get that money back, or how does that work in the numbers?
It's not a big cost savings to them, really, because they have to hire flaggers, and usually multiple flaggers if there's not police.
Got it.
So it's not a huge cost savings, no, unfortunately.
Thank you.
Commissioner Pappas.
One of the comments I got, and it is unfortunate that with, some of the major streets, we were doing it in colder weather.
Yeah.
I had people expressing concern, they thought it might have been a substandard job. I don't know if it has anything, there's a lot I don't know about specifics about paving, about the two seams down the middle of Concord Street. They're quite obvious.
So.
Why is there a seam and
So,
you're going to get it
well,
fixed?
we have been, overall, Newport did really a tremendous job. We have some concerns. We have made Newport aware of them, and we are working through those. We have a meeting coming up to meet with them to talk about some of the deficiencies. We have John Vancourt, of course, who's been working very closely with us, and just I can't say enough about what a great job he's done to assist the paving program. So we will be looking at some of those things, though. And Newport's been responsive to working through some of these with us, so.
So the seams are.
So I can't necessarily say what the answer is yet, because I'm not sure, but we are aware.
But people did notice this, okay.
Yes.
Because it was not
Yes.
just me, several people had mentioned the
Yes,
seams.
we did notice that, yes.
Okay,
And we've brought it to their attention,
all right, thank you.
yeah.
Any other discussion or comments? Commissioner Pappas.
The one, I know that, I think it's Liberty Utility that's going to be responsible for doing the crosswalks on Concord Street. I noticed we painted them. That's not a done job, right? Like, they're going to have to bring it up to where it was before with the red brick.
Yes,
Okay.
yes, and that will be the responsibility of Liberty, you're correct.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
No, I think it's great they got it painted for the winter, but I just wanted to make sure that
Yeah,
that wasn't considered done.
no, you're right.
Okay.
No, it'll be brought back to what it was.
Alderman Jenny, go ahead.
So the other commissioners here are more familiar with Concord Street than I am, but when we went to our last meeting, when I went up Concord Street, I noticed that the manhole covers and drains and stuff, that it wasn't really even. Is that as good as it gets, or is that going to be improved?
There will be some improvements made. I can't, again, we haven't met to discuss all, but there will be some improvements made. We definitely have some concerns with Concord Street, so.
Thank you.
A similar observation on Amherst Street from the bottom of Edgewood Cemetery going up towards that street. I noticed that is that just a binder coat?
Amherst,
what's
that's right,
happening there?
Amherst Street has not been final paved.
Okay.
Yeah,
All
so
right.
that will be final paved. And Kinsley will be addressed too. The Telegraph reported that we paved part of Kinsley Street, and that was actually just a top coat to get us through the winter. And we'll be milling Kinsley and paving in the spring. So it just got too late. There was so much utility work that had to be done that it got too late, so we didn't want to. You'll see Newport will continue to do some sewer work this winter, but that'll be addressed in the spring.
Overall, I think the city did a remarkable job doing 109 streets of the 138 that were earmarked, and there's 25 miles of streets that were paved. It's remarkable. I think we made a lot of progress, and we're going to continue for the foreseeable future. I did have one quick question, just a quick follow-up question. There is a part of Nashua off of West Hall Street, I think it's called Westgate Village. Are those city-owned streets, or
No.
they're not?
No.
Okay, because I had a resident ask me about a pothole in one of those streets, and I threw my spouse, and I said to my spouse, I don't think we own those streets. so
No, yeah, I think
need to
Westgate
redirect that
Village,
question. Okay.
yeah, is private.
All right, very good. Thank you. We'll place that on file. And we can move right over to personnel.
Move to accept the retirement of Paul Brennan, effective December 14, 2018.
Any discussion? Would you like to comment at all, Mr. Brennan?
Yeah, no, he has chosen to retire,
Okay.
and we appreciate his service with the city.
Very good. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Nay? I mean, all opposed? No, all set. Motion B.
Move to unseal the non-public minutes of the personnel, for personnel, from the Board of Public Works meeting of November 19, 2018.
Very good. Commissioner Teves.
Two things. One, under motion B there, missing an S on my name. Not a big deal. So I've had worse, but more importantly, I need to be listed as present at that meeting.
I didn't even see that. I apologize for that.
No worries.
We'll fix that.
No worries. If I voted, I had to be there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Very good.
Why don't we, if the board is amenable to this, why don't we, let me ask Diane to make the changes, and can we bring them back next meeting to approve?
Absolutely.
Certainly.
Or do you just
I'm
want to
fine
approve them
with-
with the changes?
I'm
It's
fine
up to the board.
Approve it as
Amended.
modified. Nominal changes.
With adding Commissioner Tees and then putting an S on your name. I apologize for
Yeah,
that.
no worries, please.
I just saw them, I just got them today myself, so I
Very
didn't
good.
even review them.
Okay. Any further discussion? Seeing none? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, we can move right into administration.
Move to accept and place on file the proposed 2019 regular meeting dates for the Board of Public Works.
Very good. Did everybody have an opportunity to review those? Any discussion? Heather and Jenny, no concerns? No? You all set?
Yes.
Okay, good. Want to make sure they work for you as well. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Director's report.
Okay. Let's see if I can do this without Diane. We've had quite a few emergency sewer service repairs. This is one on 68C West Hollis Street. And the work was done by Jack Crisp. With the new bridge has been installed in Mine Falls Park. If you haven't seen it, it's pretty cool. The bridge arrived in 2 sections and put in place. There is still some work that needs to be done on the rail trail connection of the bridge, but there should be a ribbon cutting, I think, in the spring, which we'll make sure you're invited.
Too bad they couldn't make the diagonal slat the other way. It would have been giant ends across the bridge, right?
We had a tank, I don't know if you saw it, at Greeley Park. This was a tank that had been decommissioned, actually, but we had to physically get it out of the ground by the end of December. So we did that right by the skin of our teeth. It was a 5,000-gallon tank, and it's been removed, so we no longer
was
have
at
a
Greeley
diesel
Park?
tank at Greeley Park.
Where? Where was it?
It was, not sure exactly, to be honest with you. I think it was on the other side of the maintenance building.
Okay.
Yeah, I didn't get up there to see that come out of the ground. With the warmer weather, we had continued to do some fall cleanup. This is at Greeley Park on the blower, the holiday stroll.
Click.
Click, thank you. The holiday, this is why I need Diane. The holiday stroll was a huge success this year. We had about 30,000 people again. You can see the mayor with Santa and Mrs. Claus. Looks like a lot of fun. The senior outing was also successful. That was on November 18th. And we sold all the tickets as usual. There was a ton of prizes and everything this year, so the seniors really enjoy it.
Is that Mary Bingham playing the keyboard?
Yes, it is.
It is. She volunteered to play the,
She's a nice lady.
yeah, it was very nice of her.
It might be important to note that the mayor took it to a vote for the seniors that were there in attendance to rename the event in honor of June Karen.
Yes, that is true. Yep. So it will now be the June Karen senior outing, so. And then we had, of course, Santa in the park. You see our very young Commissioner Ackerman up there with his wife. That's always a huge, we had about 200 kids this year. All of them got a present. There was popcorn, candy, chestnuts, and sausages, so, and the North End neighbors really go all out to decorate the gazebo and make it really fun for the kids, so that's really a community event.
My daughter and her best friend do the elves.
Are they there?
No,
Have
I
you seen
don't see them.
Okay. This is a berm that was installed on East Dunstable Road to help with some of the runoff that it was occurring. We've been doing a fair amount of these to try to deal with some of the water. This is at the intersection of Broad and Amherst. There was an accident that knocked down a pole, and we came in and had to fix it, so, to restore the power, rather. This is at 54 Musket. There was another drainage issue, and we installed another berm to try to help assist that resident. That was actually, this is kind of sad in a way, because this is our final request from Alderman McCarthy to help this resident, so this was the last project that we helped him with. This is the pavement overlay that I was referring to on Kinsley Street. Again, this isn't final paving. This was a joint effort between our crews and Newport. Newport rolled it, and we put down the asphalt just to try to get us through the winter. I'm sure, this is between Walnut and Palm. You probably have
It's
seen
a big
it.
improvement over what was there,
Yeah, we just didn't.
even though it's temporary.
We didn't think it was going to hold up, with plowing and everything this winter, so we had to do something. This is another emergency sewer repair on C Street. Our crews did this repair. We try to do them when we can. This is our brine building and our brine tanks. I was down there with the superintendent today. We're making a lot of progress. The school department plumber is helping us. We also have the electrician from wastewater helping, and so it's quite a project. I think it's more than all of us expected, but we're very close. I'd say within a couple of weeks we'll be making brine. But it's very interesting if you have a chance and you want to go down and see the operation. John would love to show it to you. It's pretty cool.
How long can the stuff be stored?
How long can it be stored? That's a good question. For a pretty long period of time. We wouldn't store it. Probably in the summer we would use it, but it can be stored for quite a while. Yeah, months.
Do you plan on painting the building?
I have not asked him that. I'm not sure. We certainly could. He probably will. It's something that won't occur until spring, but I would guess he'll put some paint on it. Yeah. But our street department crews built the building themselves, so we didn't have to hire a contractor, so we saved a lot of money by doing that. So, and they were really proud of the work they did, You probably noticed we fixed the Main Street rail crossing finally.
Yes.
We milled all of that out.
Click.
Oh, thank you. We milled all of it out. We just called Pan Am and said, look, we've got to do this. We were getting complaints. It was a huge safety issue. So they were amenable, and they came out and watched us, and it's a huge improvement. We've had a lot of people that have called us and thanked us. So.
Was it their responsibility? Was that why we waited?
It should be their responsibility, yes. The railroad is very difficult, can be really difficult to work with, although they were great here. It's hard to allow, we can't touch the tracks without their approval, otherwise we'll be in a lot of trouble. So that usually we get a resounding no, that we can't go near their tracks. So I think they were probably getting so many complaints themselves that that's probably why they allowed us to get in there. But it's a huge improvement, so I'm really glad we were able to get that done. For new snow emergency procedures, so we have first for the message boards, we purchased new message boards this year. They are at Amherst Street near Holman, Concord Street at Henry Burke Highway, exit 5 Island, at the Lake Street turnoff, DW Highway, in the medium just south of exit 3, and near the bridge to Hudson on East Hollis Street. So we're going to use all of those message boards to be letting residents know what's happening with weather events, with snow emergencies, and so on. And we think that this will help. The other thing that we're doing is, in the past, we have turned on the snow beacons only when a snow emergency was in effect. Now, as soon as one is declared, we're going to turn on the beacons so people will know that a snow emergency is in effect, and that they can look in a number of places. The city's website, hopefully the Telegraph will publish it. We'll be putting it on Facebook. We'll be using Twitter to get the word out. We'll be using the message boards at all those strategic locations to get the message out. What we're finding is when you turn on the beacons at 10, a lot of people are already in their homes or in bed. This way, as soon as we declare a snow emergency, if we turn them on, people will know to look and try to find out where, when the snow emergency will take place. We're going to try in as many instances as we can to have the snow emergencies from 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. That's not always possible given the timing of the storm, but that's what we're going to attempt to do so that folks can get used to having sort of that time frame for a snow emergency. So we think this will help.
Is the takeaway that when there's a snow emergency, there's no parking on city streets?
That's correct. Okay. That's correct.
So all of the people who have permits to park on residentials, downtown especially, they all have to move their cars?
Yes.
To a garage or something?
To the parking garage, yes. We're also thinking of using the School Street lot for overflow. There are too many permits and not enough room in the parking garages, so we may use that School Street lot as well. and keep that clear for folks to park. But that's, we're working through some of that with parking enforcement to, because they oversee the parking, the surface lots, so.
And we're going to do the same thing we did before if we decide we're not. I know that we try to pick up trash as much as we can, but we're going to do the same, like the call through emergency management.
When in doubt, put it out.
When in doubt, put it out. No,
The plow drivers wouldn't say that.
Public Works is doing all of that now with Lauren Byers. So she puts out all the press releases now. So there'll be a press release. It'll be on
For
Facebook.
non-trash
It'll be on-
pickup, that's pretty hard to get it.
And we will be sending it out through Code Red.
Okay.
Yes,
Because it seems like that, they have to make decision last minute.
yes. Yeah, it often is last minute. And, you know, we lose 17 drivers when we pick up trash too. So that's another consideration. You know, if we need the drivers to be plowing the streets, then that's another reason why we might cancel trash.
So the plow drivers do get annoyed if you put your trash out, though.
Yes, yes. Yeah, we've had a toter or two when, so, yeah, you should, you know, we would always post it definitely on Facebook and on the city's website if we were going to cancel trash. Those are probably two of the best places, because there'll always be a press release that will show that.
So for people, it might be safe to say, all right, dig out the end of your driveway, and that might be the safest place to put it, right? Because for the most part, they're not going to hit.
Yes, yeah. Yeah, it's a tough one.
It is tough.
We hate to cancel trash. If you cancel it on a Tuesday, by the time Friday rolls around, people can't figure out why you're not picking up their trash. You know, so it really creates a tough situation. So we do try to pick it up whenever we can, but there are times when we can't, so.
So could I ask a question?
Yes, absolutely.
Commissioner Ackerman brought up earlier question of Westgate Village, that those are private streets. So we don't pick up trash there, we don't plow there, they're completely on their own?
No, we do pick up trash in Westgate Village. Yep.
So why do we pick up trash there and not other condominium
Let
developments?
me get back to you on that. Well, Westgate Village isn't a condominium complex, though.
It's not?
Well, they do have
I don't think
HOA
they're
fees.
considered-
They have an HOA fee because they have some common area, including the pool. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I can get back to you on that, on exactly what the situation is there. I'm not sure off the top of my head, but I can let you know.
But we don't fill potholes there? That-
Let me get back to you and tell you, I'll let you know. Sometimes, I'm not sure off the top of my head, but I can definitely look into that and get you an answer.
Yeah, it's a big area in my ward.
Yeah,
so
yep.
It would be,
Let me.
it's important to me
I
to
know
know.
everything, there are a number of areas in the city that just are handled a little bit differently. So let me just make sure that I don't give you bad information, and I'll
Good, good,
I'll
yeah.
definitely let you know.
Good, I appreciate that.
Sure. Okay, any other questions about snow? Hopefully we won't have any this winter. We did have some infiltration at the wastewater treatment plant, and we think it's coming from Salmon Brook. It has subsided, but we continue to try to find out the source of that.
What does that mean, infiltration?
It means that we were receiving, for a period of time, about 9 million gallons more than normal.
Of water?
Of water, yeah. So that's of some concern. And that has to come from, we think it's coming from Salmon Brook, but it would have to come from a big body of water to get that kind of volume. We were seeing increased volumes from Hudson as well. We've notified them. They're looking into where they may be having some infiltration. But we just did a big infiltration study, and it didn't pick up any additional flow from Salmon Brook. But it could just be that the water level was so high, and that now that it's subsided, it seems to it's gone back to normal. So we're looking into the source of that now. It didn't cause any problems at the plant, but it's concerning when you're getting that much additional volume, when our normal flow is about 11 million.
How would we get infiltration from Hudson?
Hudson is probably having some infiltration on their end, so there could be, like, this, we're concerned that we may have a hole in our main interceptor goes right through Salmon Brook, so we're concerned that we may have some infiltration from that. Hudson could be getting infiltration from groundwater or other areas in Hudson. I'm not sure where it could be coming from, but they're looking into that.
So
So we're getting more flow, in other words.
Hudson doesn't come through us. She's saying Hudson is experiencing something similar, I think.
No, they do. They do
do?
come to us.
Oh.
We were getting more flow than normal, so we informed them of that. So they're looking into, on their end, where they may be getting additional water. The water table was very high, so, water can come from a lot of different places.
So, if I may, there's a pipe that goes under the river from Hudson to our sewage treatment plant?
Yes. We get all Hudson's flow. Hudson uses our wastewater treatment plant, yep.
So, Director, so let me ask the follow-on question. Do they pay a portion of the,
They do.
do they?
They do. They pay for the use, and they pay for a portion, and again, I wish Dave was still here, because I'm not sure off the top of my head, but they do pay for a portion of all of our capital projects as well, based on the amount of flow that they send to the plant.
Interesting. Okay.
This is just a picture of a grinder repair, one of our mechanics. This is a grinder that is before the digester, so it chops up rags and things like that before it gets to the digester, so we don't have any problems.
Is that the muffin?
No, that's a big grinder. The muffin monsters are at the pump stations primarily. We may have some at the plant too, but yeah. So they grind up rags and things that come through the system so that doesn't plug anything up. So those have worked pretty well. This is some flame arrestor repair, which is on top of the digester. This is really important because if there's ever a flame or anything, that the flame arrestor would extinguish it. And when you have an egg full of methane gas, that's a very important feature. So. And this is, we're working on wet weather right now, trying to figure out how to get it functioning properly. It should be taking 70, 80 gallons. It's taking probably 25 or 30. Part of it is because of the screens and the raking mechanism to remove the debris. The screens are getting plugged. So the manufacturer Lakeside wanted us to try this teeth installation to see if that would help. I'm not sure that that's going to be the solution. I think we're going to have to spend a fair amount of money to put in new screens and new rakes, much like we have in our headworks at the front of our plant, our main plant, to get rid of the debris. Because right now the screens are getting blinded very quickly. So there's no when we activate wet weather, flow goes directly, so it doesn't flow through the main plant, it goes directly. So we need the same mechanism we have in our headworks on our main plant to be able to remove the debris and leaves and that sort of thing. So this was a very inexpensive try, so we're trying this before we spend what could be up to probably about $2 million on new screens and new. This is very important, though, for us to fix this because this was part of our consent decree, and until wet weather is functioning 100%, we can't really go into the monitoring phase to see how well our CSO program is working. This has to be functioning because this is a critical component, and it isn't. So we're working with DES and EPA, and they're very anxious for us to get this working properly, so.
Seems counterintuitive. I assume we still monitor it, even though we're not in the monitoring phase.
Well, what we have to do is monitor the effectiveness of our CSO program. So when we entered the consent decree back many years ago with EPA, this was part of that consent decree and part of our CSO program. And so now the EPA is saying, okay, now show us, test your CSO program and show us the effectiveness of it. And, we're still getting CSO discharges, but we believe that we'll get very few once wet weather is taking the flow that it should be taking. Because it's taking maybe a third of what it should be taking. So once that's functioning properly, we should have less CSOs discharging. So, and then the EPA will want to talk to us about what the next steps are if we're still having CSO discharges. So that might mean separation in areas that we're still having our CSO issues with our CSOs. So, but we can't test until that's working properly. So. Yard waste collections ended on December 7th. Solid Waste was very happy to have that end. That's always a really, really tough season. And it was just incredible, the volumes right up until the end. Even after it snowed, we were still getting pretty heavy volumes, so.
I do think it's worth, I know it's really hard, but I think it's worth extending the season. I think people really appreciate it, and otherwise, even if you have yours taken away, excuse me,
Bless you.
you don't want to be looking at your neighbor's soft yard waste stuck into the
Right.
snowbank all winter long either.
Right. Yeah, we've extended it 2 weeks now,
was
later than we
really nice,
we used
yeah.
to. We used to stop at Thanksgiving.
That was really nice.
So, yeah, I do think it's helpful. The recycling canopy is almost finished at Solid Waste. So if you get a chance to go over and look at that, and that's going to be a huge help. It'll keep our recycling single stream from blowing around to a large degree, and also reduce the weights now because it won't be subject to rain and snow and be quite as heavy. So,
It's great.
and also I think it'll allow us to have the potential of other people bidding on our single stream because it'll be dry. Casella doesn't seem to mind it being wet, but there are some companies that won't bid on it because of for that reason. So.
But it seems like they've done right by us, Casella, pretty much.
Yes, agreed. So the Fort Hills landfill will be closed on Christmas, of course, and collections will be delayed by 1 day for Tuesday through Friday. So now you can see the little snowman and happy holidays. Cute.
I was looking forward to that.
Another really important thing for solid waste is we will have our extra holiday trash collection starting Wednesday, December 26th through Monday, December 31st. This has been posted on Facebook, but again, Wednesday, December 26th through Monday, December 31st, you can put overflow trash if it doesn't all fit in your toter.
Sometimes it might take a day or two before they come by and pick it up.
Yep.
What's
Yeah.
an acceptable receptacle? That's tough to say.
Trash
Accepta-
bag.
Trash
just
bag.
is fine?
You can put it,
Okay.
yep. We'd appreciate if boxes and cardboard were flattened, because that slows us down. But
So is Christmas wrapping paper allowable in the recycling?
no, it is not. Nope, that needs to go in the trash. Yep.
And no bags on the trees to remind people. You're going to start when does tree collection start?
That's coming, right?
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. That's a good question. We will be, yes, so there shouldn't be any ornaments, lights, bags, any tree stands, nothing like that on the trees, please. And we will be picking the trees up December 31st through January 11th. And you can just put it out with your regular trash and we'll come by and get it.
Do they get it on your regular trash day, or do they just go through the city each?
It depends. It might get picked up on your regular trash day, but it might not too. It depends. But you can put it out on your regular trash day, and we'll do our best to pick it up as close to that as we possibly can. Depends how many trees are out, but.
And the one thing I forgot to say about extra trash, sometimes people don't forget, like, it's not to clean out their basement or attic.
Yes, thank you. It should be extra holiday trash, please. Okay. And then the last slide, again, for New Year's, will be closed Tuesday, January 1st, and in observance of New Year's, and collections will be delayed by one day, Tuesday through Friday. So, and it's important to note, this is actually really important. So even though City Hall is closed on Monday, and it's a holiday for some of us, Public Works will be working on Monday, so we will be collecting trash on Monday. So if you,
January 1st?
no, for
Eve.
Christmas.
December.
Christmas
oh,
Eve,
okay,
Christmas
all right.
Eve,
Yes, okay.
December 24th. Some people get confused because City Hall is closed.
Oh, okay.
Every year, the mayor chooses a holiday.
Okay.
And this year, he chose Christmas Eve, which is very nice. But everybody should know that we will be picking up trash Monday on Christmas Eve. So,
So, could I ask a question to follow? So the extra trash, so people who, are people limited to their receptacle? You know, so that when the automatic things come by and the automatic trucks pick up that bin, so are you saying that in addition to that, they can put bags of trash?
yes, during that time period, yes,
And is it a separate truck that comes by to pick that up?
yes.
Thank you.
So they should probably leave the 3 feet, is it 3 feet? There's a certain amount of.
Yeah, well, the trash bags probably aren't too big a deal,
Okay.
but yeah, if you can just, if folks can not, put them on top or right next to it, would be helpful.
Some of the
It's
drivers
easier-
are more strict about that.
Easier for them to lift it and put it back in place, if it's, yeah. But we're pretty lenient about, during that time, but please, no cleanouts, thank you, Commissioner Pappas. And that's it, any other questions?
All right, let's very quickly move into commissioners' comments. Any commissioners have any greetings? Yes, go ahead, Commissioner Dees.
It's been brought to my attention twice in the past week, and I'm going to do my very best to explain the area. So if you take Amherst Street and go down the Somerset Parkway and take a right onto Trafalgar Square, so Citizens Bank kind of stays on your left. You
Yep.
have the opportunity to kind of go into the Market Basket parking lot, but if you take that turn to the left, there is a berm there that prevents you from turning into Citizens Bank
Correct.
in the front, and so it kind of forces you in the back. I'm not sure what that berm, if that berm's to prevent people going in that way and to go left out of their parking lot, but that berm is sinking, in that, paving has caused, it just hasn't been raised, to a point where I think it might be a little bit dangerous in the sense that people could try to just drive right over it and take that left, so I didn't know if we had a plan or what the status of that was.
Yeah, we do have a plan. So we will be paving that in the next few years, 2 or 3 years. And what our intent was to mill it so that we would have more curb reveal. And so we could lift up that curb and restore that island. It's something we could do now, but we'd prefer to wait until we pave so that we can have more curb reveal and, but it hasn't been paved in I think 20 years or something, so, I mean, it's,
Really?
yeah, so it's time.
Okay.
But that does need to stay there, because it
Well, I'm
it
just
is to
wondering
prevent
if,
that left turn.
So it's a 2 to 3 year before it gets repaved? I
Could be.
went and drove it today, because I got a second call, and it does, I mean, you could just drive, right
And
over it.
people are,
Good.
some people are,
Yeah.
yeah.
And does it cause any liability on our part if it isn't raised higher? Or no?
Not
People are gonna
really. I
do what
mean,
they
we
wanna do.
we could. I mean, if there's some concern for safety, we certainly could. I mean, most people won't drive over, a strip like that. Most of us know not to do that. Some people are, though. You're right, there's no question.
I think what they do is, because they want to get back out to the light to go left, because you can only go right the other way, so they do that way to
Yes.
go back left. Okay.
Yes. Yeah, so there is that, a plan to take care of that.
Thank you.
then. But we could, if it is a big problem, it's certainly something we could do ahead of time, too.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
We're just hoping to wait until we mill.
Do it
so-
all at
Because
once.
we would just we'd be able to raise it, once we mill, we'll be able to raise it up higher so that there's better curb reveal, that's all.
Okay,
Yeah,
thank you.
you're welcome.
Any other commissioner comments? I don't believe we need to go into non-public session.
We don't have any non-publics?
I'll move to adjourn.
Motion is to adjourn, and we are adjourned at 6:46.
Merry
PM.
Christmas.
Yes.
Merry
Yes, Merry Christmas.
Happy New Year, happy holidays.
Thank you.